Wow, what a decade, huh? Can you believe in a little over 10 years, we've gone from seeing a lot of Marvel characters on the big screen for the first time to watching them all come together for one epic fight against Thanos? Today, we're going to be talking about the most important MCU showdowns of the decade. This includes a variety of cheer-inducing, adrenaline-pumping fights that made us all fall in love with the MCU over and over again. Since this is a decades list, that means 2008's Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk won't be included. But don't worry, there's still plenty of Hulk smashing to be found, so let's get into it right now. We can't tell you how many times we screamed in joy and terror watching the incredible battle between Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America vs. Thanos. The big three fighting together as one cohesive team against the Mad Titan was what we fans have been waiting years for. But even Thanos proved to be more than a match for our heroes, leading to a dicey situation where it looked like all was lost. But of course, in truly epic fashion, Captain America summoned Mjolnir in the most cheer-inducing moment of the entire franchise and continued to fight the good fight. Plus, this battle ends with Cap staring down Thanos' army and refusing to back down. Yeah, it's beyond awesome. The Battle of New York was the first time we got to see the Avengers working together to vanquish an enemy, and oh boy, did it not disappoint. Not only was this an amazing action scene, but it also gave everyone at least one huge cheer-worthy moment. From watching Thor and Captain America battle off waves of enemies on the ground, to seeing Hawkeye deliver an explosive arrow right to Loki's face, the Hulk smashing just about everything in sight, it was definitely the best time to be an Avengers fan. The team would go on to fight together many more times, but it's this first huge fight that really showed how incredible this team of heroes could be. These last 10 years have given us some amazing heroes vs. villain fights, but what happens when heroes are pitted against each other? Our hearts broke into Ant-Man-sized pieces watching Captain America and Iron Man slug it out at the end of Captain America Civil War. It hurt knowing that this wasn't some friendly back and forth, but these two were legitimately trying to hurt each other. The fact that Steve knew Bucky killed Tony's parents and didn't tell him was just the final straw in their already crumbling relationship and led to their massive fight. Sure, it was heartbreaking watching our two favorites pummel each other, but on the bright side, it was a gorgeous fight to watch. The first meeting between the big three in the first Avengers movie was a fun battle filled with misunderstandings and some solid quips. While escorting Loki, Thor swoops in to try to get his adopted brother back, leading to a confrontation with Iron Man and Captain America. The brief fight between Thor and Iron Man is a lot of fun, but the real winning moment is watching Thor use his hammer against Captain America's shield, as fans have been wondering which is the stronger weapon. Although it's a cool shot, you have to wonder though, what if Cap's shield didn't block Thor's hammer? Would Thor have just destroyed Steve Rogers right then and there? Anyways, it was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Thor Ragnarok completely revitalized the Thor franchise, and a big element of that was the buddy relationship between Thor and Hulk. But of course, before they could become friendly, the two had to fight in the gladiatorial arena. The fight is truly epic as the two strongest Avengers finally get a chance to go all out with one another in cool gladiator costumes, and really, isn't that all we want as Avengers fans? The fight ends with Thor gaining the upper hand, but ultimately losing due to the Grandmaster's cheating, but that's alright. We think both Thor and Hulk are winners in our books thanks to this action-packed and hilarious showdown. Is there any chance for a rematch? Before ENDGAME, the Battle of Wakanda in Infinity War was probably the most ambitious fight sequence in any MCU film. It was jam-packed with our favorite heroes struggling against the overwhelming might of the Outriders and the Black Order. Even with everyone fighting together, the Avengers were almost defeated, until Thor swooped in at the last minute to help turn the tides with a shiny new weapon. There's just so much going on in this fight that it's hard to pinpoint just one favorite moment. But the fun banter between Cap, Thor, and Groot is a definite highlight in terms of comedy, while Rocket and Bucky teaming up to mow down enemies with guns is something we never knew we wanted until that very instant. Is there a more iconic image for the franchise than the Avengers running at each other ready to fight at the airport in Captain America Civil War? We definitely think it's up there. Although the fight between Steve and Tony later is the real emotional finale of the movie, the airport fight scene is perhaps the most fun you'll ever have watching an MCU movie. Seeing every hero use their unique set to battle their friends is sad when you think about it, but it's just so cool as an audience member watching the Avengers trying to take down a giant man or seeing Spider-Man in costume interact with other Avengers for the first time in the MCU. There's a lot of things to love about Black Panther's fight scenes, but one of the best showdowns to take place in the movie is Killmonger and T'Challa's first big waterfall fight. We don't see a superpowered CGI slugfest, but rather two fierce warriors fighting for what they believe is right. We had already seen T'Challa come out on top earlier in his first waterfall fight, but this time, he faced an enemy he vastly underestimated. And sure, we didn't believe T'Challa was truly gone after this fight, because how else would they make sequels, right? But seeing Killmonger win so easily was truly shocking. The final fight of this film is a little too CGI for our taste, but this fight more than makes up for it. There are so many awesome fights that it's making our head spin. We need a breather here. If you haven't already, subscribe to CBR and don't forget to turn on notifications because we need to beat that tricky YouTube algorithm. And if you're on mobile, make sure you turn on your notifications in the YouTube settings. Now, back to the video. We think if you want to show somebody one MCU scene that highlights how cool some of their fights are, you've got to show them the elevator fight scene in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. It's a masterpiece in tension and creativity. As Captain America slowly descends in the elevator, and realizing that more and more Hydra agents are getting on, he knows that something is about to go down. His line about asking if anyone wants to get out is pitch perfect, and it's followed by an amazingly well-choreographed fight in close quarters. If this wasn't the scene that convinced Marvel bigwigs to give the Winter Soldier directors, the Russo brothers, the reins to the entire Marvel franchise, we'd be shocked. This might be the fight that hurts the most, because on top of all the awesomeness, meaning besides the amazing Doctor Strange psychedelic fight, the moon throwing, the Spider-Man hopping through magic portals, etc., this is the fight that actually just hurts the most because they were so close. After an amazing display of teamwork, the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy were able to pin down Thanos and almost remove the Infinity Gauntlet. But an emotional Peter Quill ruined their chances with an outburst of anger. Dang it, Quill! By calling the second movie in the franchise Captain America: The Winter Soldier, most fans knew something that Cap didn't. The titular Winter Soldier was none other than Bucky Barnes, Cap's best friend who he thought was long dead. Talk about awkward. This led to the great reveal in the awesome highway fight, where after an intensive bout of hand-to-hand combat, Steve realizes just who exactly he's dealing with. The scene works on so many levels, because on top of being just an excellent and hectic fight scene, it works to turn Steve's life completely upside down. The choreography in Winter Soldier is some of the best in the entire franchise, and this scene only reinforces that notion. It was the fight comic fans were itching for, Hulk vs. Hulkbuster. Made just in case the Hulk ever went rogue, Tony and Bruce collaborated on a massive suit that could fight the Jolly Green Giant, and we got to see that unfold in Avengers: Age of Ultron after Scarlet Witch brainwashed the Rage Monster. And it was a fight that certainly delivered. But maybe it was just better from an audience perspective because the fight caused serious collateral damage that was epic to watch. The final fight for Avengers: Age of Ultron is incredibly important for our heroes to save the world once again from a deadly threat. Instead of just having the fight in a plain city like the first movie, the second film ends with the city Novigrad turning into a giant meteor that Ultron wants to use to destroy the planet. It makes for some fun, inventive set pieces and gives the final battle a sense of urgency. It even comes with the first official Avengers casualty, as Quicksilver sacrifices himself to save Hawkeye and a civilian. Doctor Strange opens up with one heck of a mystic bang. The film was the first time the MCU finally got to explore magic and mysticism, and its fight scenes certainly represent that. The opening showdown between the Ancient One and Caecilius prepares the audience for exactly what type of movie they're about to watch. This won't just be a film with good guys and bad guys punching each other, no. That first fight shows that this would be a film filled with trippy visuals and magical shenanigans that would warp the very fabric of reality. Although Marvel often gets a lot of flack for having two characters with the exact same powers fight each other, the shtick works in Captain America: The First Avenger when Cap faces off against the Red Skull for the final time, mainly because the setting of the fight is so interesting. It's the one thing to have a fight on sturdy ground, but the slugfest that happens between Cap and the Great Red Pumpkin takes place on a massive aircraft bomber. And of course, the fight ends with Steve having to sacrifice himself to save countless lives and forcing him to cancel on his date with his true love Peggy Carter, which still stands as one of the most heart-wrenching scenes in the MCU. When you're a villain in the MCU, you gotta establish your dominance early on. Nobody's gonna take you seriously without a butt-kicking opening scene, and Thor's goth sister Hela certainly delivers the goods. After destroying Thor's hammer, Hela makes her grand appearance in Asgard, where she faces off against the Warriors 3 and the rest of the Asgardian army. Unfortunately for the Asgardians, Hela proves to be too much a threat. She drops 2 out of 3 of Thor's loyal comrades without batting an eye, and then proceeds to mow down the rest of Asgard's mighty forces. In just a few short minutes, Hela proved she was the toughest foe Thor had ever faced. If we could wrap up the bridge fight in Thor Ragnarok and open it on Christmas Day, it would be the best gift of all. There's so much happening in this showdown, and all of it's just an amazing blend of action and bright colors. To cap it all off, we're treated to a giant fire god destroying Asgard, and Hulk wanting to smash it into oblivion. What more could you ask for? Ant-Man was a lot of fun, and took advantage of its silly premise and its main hero's skill set to create some truly inventive fight sequences. The best out of the bunch is the final fight between Ant-Man and the insane Yellow Jacket, which sees the two shrinking fighters bounce around a children's playset in their tiny forms. The whole showdown proved how awesome a hero like Ant-Man could be, and it even ended with a pretty cool peek into the quantum realm, which we all know would grow to be very important in future movies. The final showdown between the Guardians of the Galaxy vs. Ronan the Accuser has everything you want in a final battle. It equals parts aerial dogfighting, hand-to-hand combat, and of course ends with a dance-off to save the entire universe. If those aren't the three main components for best endings of all time, we don't know what is. As we cut back and forth between Rocket and Mary Poppins defending Xandar with their planes, and the rest of the Guardians on Ronan's ship, we're treated to awesome moment after awesome moment, all ending with a final confrontation that's just ridiculous, hilarious, and inspiring all at the same time. We'd expect nothing less from the Guardians of the Galaxy. How do you top a dance-off to save the world? Well, you have Pac-Man fight a living planet for control of the universe. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was even bigger in scope than the first one, and that showed in the final battle between the Guardians and Peter's jerk of a dad ego. As the team struggles to fight off an angry Celestial, we get amazing moments like Baby Groot struggling to set off a bomb that might vaporize everyone, and Yondu's final sacrifice. Both Guardians movies have ended with amazing showdowns, and we can't wait to see what Volume 3 has in store. We just expect things to be weird and wonderful like they always are. It's common knowledge that Thor: The Dark World is one of the weakest entries in the entire MCU, and although the movie is a mess in terms of story, pacing, and lack of a decent bad guy, it does have one redeeming quality. The final showdown between Thor and Malekith is pretty cool with all its portal effects and teleportation shenanigans. It's a shame Malekith wasn't a more interesting villain, because it would have made this fight scene even better in the long run. As Thor fights to stop the convergence, Malekith and the God of Thunder jump around different worlds as they pummel each other, and it's definitely the highlight of the entire movie. See, we say nice things about this film sometimes. Sometimes. Iron Man 2 was criticized for its surprising lack of Iron Man action, but to be fair, the brief moments of actual fighting in the Iron Man suit are actually pretty cool. The great final showdown at the Stark Expo delivers on the Iron Man goods, with some fun moments and a nice team-up between Iron Man and his best buddy War Machine, as the two take on Vanko's army of hammer drones. And although we didn't know it at the time, it also features a baby Spider-Man appearance. Well, okay, Marvel has been a little cagey confirming that the little boy is definitely Peter Parker, but it's a headcanon we fully accept. Do you think Iron Man 2 was boring because of its lack of Iron Man? Well, Iron Man 3 makes up for that by throwing so much Iron Man into the final fight on the Norco. In the final showdown between Killian and Team Iron Man, Tony calls in the big guns, meaning all of his suits arrive to help out in a pinch. He calls it the Iron Legion, and it's enough to bring a smile to just about everyone's face. Well, everyone's smiling except Killian, who promptly gets his butt kicked by Tony and a superpowered Pepper Potts. The only sad part is the ending, watching Tony self-destruct all of his suits, though we all know that didn't last for very long, did it? Although we don't necessarily see the assault on the Statesman in Avengers: Infinity War, we certainly feel its after effects. Opening the movie on the devastated Asgardians is shocking and brutal, and immediately proves just how deadly of a threat Thanos is. If we weren't convinced, the showdown ups the ante immediately by having Thanos pummel the Hulk into submission and forcing us to say goodbye to both Heimdall and Loki within a matter of minutes. It was truly breathtaking to watch Thor lose everything in a matter of minutes, especially since in the film's timeline, this happened just after saving everyone in Thor Ragnarok. No Marvel movie has opened in such a brutal way before, and we don't think it's ever gonna happen again. Prove us wrong, Marvel! You might wonder how a guy with some fancy special effects machines could be a match for a super-powered teenager, but Spider-Man: Far From Home did a great job in making Mysterio a very serious threat to Peter Parker. The final showdown showcases just how powerful Stark's drone technology could be used in the wrong hands, and the film's truly epic conclusion is one for the history books. As Spider-Man battles the endless barrage of drones, his friends are on their own adventure trying to survive. Plus, even though Spider-Man wins at the end, we know that Mysterio had one final trick up his sleeve that will change Peter's life forever. Glad you're sticking around for another movie, Spider-Man. Bounty hunting is a tricky business, especially if you're bounty hunting in the Star Wars universe. You can find out just how tricky with a Disney Plus subscription and watch the latest episodes of The Mandalorian along with all the Star Wars, Marvel, Pixar, and Disney content you can handle. Just click the link in the description for a free trial. Watching Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor all fight against Thanos was probably the highlight of our entire lives. What do you think? What was the best MCU showdown of the decade and why? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to CBR for more awesome MCU content. Thanks for watching.